up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot to get into in the world of volleyball, such as McKendree doing the impossible and knocking off Loyola Chicago, handing them their first loss of the season. How big was the Bearcats win, and did it impact the ABCA polls? Also, the Masters College, an NAIE school, knocked off number 8 Stanford this past weekend. What? Is everyone here surprised? Well, I kinda am, and I kinda am not. Also, this week kicks off the NCAA beach volleyball season. Can USC make it a 5-seed? Or will TCU or UCLA knock them off their perch? Also, LOVB Houston has no problems with the LOVB Classic as they win said Classic in Kansas City. I can't tell them to win the whole kit and caboodle. Also, we have some TBS news as well as some 3-2 men's volleyball news and some high school boys volleyball. So hand me a volleyball. Set Connect. Tell me about the big volleyball action here on Set Point. Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio. Your destination for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 286 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different podcast platforms such as iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, the list goes on and on. And make sure to follow us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We definitely would appreciate that. We're trying to reach 500 subscribers by the end of March. And with your help, we could definitely make it happen. Also, make sure to check us out on our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, our merchandise shop where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops, and hoodies. Also, make sure to check out the Hall of Fame where I am inductee number 10, and so much more. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsors, Plant Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Vital Apparel, and Raw Nutrition Supplements. So without any further delay, let us pass it to our sponsors.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. A It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at @sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors, as well as our most recent sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Also, once again, make sure to check us out on our website, iesportsradio.com. But Raw Nutrition Supplements is our most recent sponsor. If you use the promo code IESR, you will get 10% off. So keep that in mind right there. And the way you can follow SetPoint on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at @set_point_IE. And you can follow me, the host, personally on X, formerly known as Twitter as well, at Teran Rodriguez1. Also, make sure to check out SetPoint on Instagram at @set_point_IESR. Also, we have this little thing going on called the Supporters Club, which is exclusive on Spreaker. It's only $5 a month. And if you do be part of the Supporters Club, like I mentioned, it's only $5 a month, which is the equivalent of a coffee, just saying. But if you do manage to become a member of SetPoint's Supporters Club, you'll get a shout on every time this show goes live. You'll also receive an IE Sports Radio t-shirt after 4 months. of being part of the supporters club, and so much more. So definitely keep that in mind right there. And also, you will be invited to be a guest on either the live show of Set Point or on a pre-recorded show of Set Point Extra Points. And who knows, maybe you'll get more benefits as well. So, and if you're unable to be a member of the supporters club for Set Point, just let me know, and then maybe we can work something out. I do want to give a shout out to Kevin Prate. I think that's how it's pronounced. Kevin Prate on his donation. He definitely means a lot. Your donation means so much to me, Kevin, and I really do appreciate you donating to Set Points, and that'll eventually help out IE Sports Radio as well. So thank you, Kevin Prate, for your support and your donation. It really does mean a lot, so it will never go unnoticed. So if you want to be like Kevin, do let me know. Message me, and maybe we can work something out. Or if you want to be part of the supporters club, just follow the link, and then you'll be able to donate. What I would recommend is keep your receipt just so you can prove that you're part of the supporters club. But I digress. All right, that's enough of me rambling on. So let's get on into the NCAA men's volleyball recap for Week 7. So it was a very, very fun week, eventful week for the most part, and honestly, it was just absolutely outstanding. So the week got started last Monday when Ohio State swept Purdue-Fort Wayne. Kind of to be expected. Purdue-Fort Wayne was receiving votes, but Ohio State just handled business as always. And then Tuesday, we had North Greenville reverse sweeping Lees McRae. Now, you got to remember that Lees McRae actually came into the week with no wins. And they had the perfect opportunity to do so. But unfortunately, North Greenville, being the talented team that they are, they were able to make an outstanding comeback. That was kind of the only notable matchup right there. Kentucky State Franklin was postponed. Georgetown of Kentucky took down Thomas More in 5 sets. Benedict took down Warren Wilson in 3. Then the week really got off to a hot start. We had Long Beach State sweeping UCLA. The #1 Beach swept the #3 Bruins at Pauley Pavilion. I thought it was at least going to go 5, but Long Beach State eked out the first set. They were in control for the most part, if not all of the set, in set number 2. Then the third set, Long Beach State was actually trailing for the most part, but then they came back late in the set. And the crazy thing was that Sotir Shapanis or Skylar Varga didn't lead the way. That honor actually belonged to Daniil Hercevic, who had 11 kills to lead the Beach. But Moni Nikolov was amazing as always. Leading UCLA was Cooper Robinson, as he had 16 kills, but it wasn't enough for UCLA to hand Long Beach State its first loss of the season. So Long Beach State gets a little revenge, and everything's looking good for the Beach. And then we had the true match of the week, might be match of the year. UC Irvine taking on USC. Irvine was ranked number 2 in the polls, while USC was ranked number 5, and it went to a 5th set. And the 5th set was decided 27-25. USC had 8 match points, and oh man, they just could not get that point on their serve. They just could not side out, which is unfortunate, as UC Irvine, they were able to get 2 big games from Halir Heno as well as Nolan Flexen. I also got big games from Joe Carlos. He had some key blocks in that 5th set as well as a key dig. And he had 73 assists to go along with 15 digs. That's how amazing Joe Carlos was. So amazing win for UC Irvine, and you're going to see how amazing that is. And then McKendree outlasted Lindenwood in 5. That was another good matchup right there in the MIVA. You had Fort Valley State sweeping Emmanuel. Belmont Abbey blew away King. And then Lincoln Memorial took down Tusculum. And then Thursday, we had Ball State taking down Lewis in 4. This was a little bit of a crazy matchup, as Ball State actually wound up they were a bit banged up, and they also saw their top player, Tanashi Indavazacheva, go down with a leg injury in the 3rd set. So that's unfortunate for Ball State. That's going to eventually come back to haunt them, which you're about to see a little bit later on. But Ball State, they took down Lewis. Kind of handed Lewis another loss, but Ball State just continues to do Ball State things. And then BYU took down Concordia Irvine in the first MPSF match of the season. A solid win for BYU. I mean, Concordia Irvine is a little bit of a tougher place, especially since I don't think they have instant replay, at least not to my knowledge. Last time I went to a Concordia Irvine match, ironically enough, it was against BYU. There was no challenge system, but maybe that's changed. And then we had Queens of North Carolina taking down Purdue Fort Wayne in some MIVA action in 4 sets. Some people forget that Queens actually partook in the MIVA last year. So for those forgetting that for those saying that Queens is a first-year program in the MIVA, no, they partook in it last year. We had Lincoln Memorial sweeping Lees McRae. LIU outlasted Dominican of New York, and then Fort Valley State swept Catawba. Then we jumped to Friday. USC just had USC hosted UC Irvine, and UC Irvine just swept them. They swept USC. Another big game for Hilaire Heno and Nolan Flexen. It was just not USC's night, as the big positive from the series, however, from USC was Jack Duker being back in the lineup. He is back and better than ever at opposite, and I'm happy to see it. He wasn't in the starting lineup for USC in the previous matches for USC, but now he's back and ruling the opposite with an iron fist, which I think is amazing for him. So great job to Jack Duker. Unfortunately for USC, they just could not pull off a win against UC Irvine. But USC is still having a fantastic season. Now they're about to go into conference play in the MPSF, where they take on Vanguard in a 2-match series. That'll be quite interesting if you ask me. Then you also had Long Beach State sweeping Vanguard. Speaking of which, this wasn't a surprise. What was a surprise is BYU nearly getting reverse swept against Concordia Irvine, but the Cougars were able to outlast the Eagles in 5 sets. This just goes to show the MPSF, no one is safe. And I thought this was a surefire matchup. I thought BYU would have had a little bit more of a handling night, but Concordia Irvine just will not give up, especially on their home court. Then another notable matchup, number 10 Grand Canyon took down number 12 UC San Diego in 4 sets. A big win right there, because this was kind of the battle of 2 teams trying to prove themselves as top 10 material. And you had CSUN taking down William Jessup in 4 sets. Shout out to Kyle Steele, friend of the show. You had Loyola sweeping Quincy. And then we had, so the reason why I make note of Concordia Irvine is there's actually another Concordia Chicago. So yeah, for those wondering, why can't you just say Concordia? Well, there are more Concordias. So there you go. And then the Masters College took down Menlo in 4 sets. Menlo is a former NAIA program. Now they're in NCAA Division 1-2. So you have that right there. Penn State swept St. Francis. Purdue Fort Wayne got revenge on Queens in 4 sets. And that pretty much takes care of all the Friday matches, except we had a little bit of an upset. 2 upsets that I forgot to mention. We had Princeton taking down NJIT in 4 sets in the Battle of New Jersey. Yes, New Jersey. I promise you I will not say that like that in a New Jersey voice. But Princeton got the job done. And for those that were wondering, Princeton, they were a little bit banged up prior to this match, but they looked way much better. They looked a whole lot better. They looked like a team that deserves to be ranked, and they took down NJIT. And then Lewis took down Ball State in 5 sets. Ball State not having Tanashi Ndavazo-Cheva, as well as some of their other key players, really hurts the Cardinals, as Lewis handed them their first loss in MIVA play. And then we jumped to Saturday. This was a fun night. We had Ohio State taking down Lindenwood in 4 sets. Solid win for the Buckeyes. I think it's a good win. And then we had the Battle of the Winless. Now, most people probably won't care for this, but the Battle of the Winless between Lees McRae and King of Tennessee, someone needed to win, and Lees McRae pulled off a 5-set win, fitting that it went 5 to see who was going to win their first match of the season. And then you had Penn State taking down St. Francis in straight sets. Nice win for the Nittany Lions. And then we get on into the fun matches. Oh, yeah, we also had on Friday and Saturday, we had Pepperdine sweeping UC Santa Barbara both nights. Both teams were missing their top players. Pepperdine was missing Cole Hartke, while UC Santa Barbara was missing Jess Bianchi. And that's kind of a big player to be missing if you're Santa Barbara. So hopefully for Bianchi's sake, he's able to get back onto the court. But then we get into the fun matchups on Saturday. We had Grand Canyon outlasting UC San Diego in 5 sets, with the 5th set being decided 19-17. This was the big win for Grand Canyon. This could be a de facto win in case Grand Canyon needs to make the NCAA tournament or National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament as an at-large. Honestly, it was a great win for Grand Canyon. They defended home turf Now let's see them go on the road to take down CSUN and Long Beach State, especially since that Long Beach State matchup is going to be a fun matchup. And remember, this was the first week without Matt Worley, and the fact that they took down UC San Diego was quite amazing. Well, first week in terms of playing matches without Matt Worley. Now it's Grand Canyon without Matt Worley, period, and now they can continue to move on. Then we had a stunner of an upset. We had number 18 McKendree taking down number 6 Loyola Chicago at Lebannon in 5. A huge win for McKendree because remember, they just recently got swept by Loyola Chicago. But the Bearcats were able to pounce on the Ramblers. They handed Loyola Chicago their first loss of the season. Yadiel Diaz, everyone's favorite libero, he had 18 digs. A massive win for McKendree. I'll be talking about McKendree a little bit later. And then we had maybe a big stunner, but maybe not as big as McKendree beating Loyola. We had the Masters College, an NAIA program, taking down number 8 Stanford on the road in 5 sets. This was the battle of NorCal versus NorCal, and the Masters College was able to pull out the win, which I thought was very impressive. But credit to Stanford. They actually trailed 21-17 in set number 4. They were down 2-1 in the match, and then they eventually came back to win it in overtime. I think they won it 28-26. And then the 5th set was just pretty much all Masters, as Brian Van Groningen was just a man on a mission for the Masters University. They're number 1 in NAIA men's volleyball for a reason. So I don't necessarily think this is too surprising because if you remember, the Masters took down Pepperdine in a reverse sweep on the road last year. So the Masters is continuing to have an amazing season. And this kind of begs the question, when will the Masters College be moved up to NCAA Division I-2? That's what I'm wondering. So a great win for the Masters College or the Masters University. And then Sunday, we didn't have it too much. All we just had was Damon sweeping Dominican. So you have that right there. And that's pretty much going to do it for the NCAA Men's Volleyball Week 7 recap. So this kind of begs the question. And here's my question of the day for you all. Is the Masters upset over Stanford really all that surprising? Well, like I just mentioned, I don't think it's too surprising because the Masters University does have some darn good players, and they were runners-up in the NAIA championship from last season, and they also made it to the Final Four the previous year. They've won their conference tournament the previous 2 years. So all in all, for the Masters, this isn't too surprising. And you have to remember, Stanford has not one senior on their team, and they hadn't played a match in over 8 days. The last time they played the match was their 4-set win over Hawaii. And remember, a young team can definitely, unfortunately, get hit with the result of the hangover that is the Hawaii hangover, or getting too high off of the big wins. So it's unfortunate for Stanford, but you're about to see that it didn't really hurt them too much. So that is pretty much that right there. That's my question of the day right there for you all. Now for the AVCA Collegiate Men's Volleyball poll, and pretty much the top 5 stayed the same, but we had some ties tied in. We had Grand Canyon, and we also had Ball State tied up at 8. Stanford stayed in the top 10 despite losing to the Masters. You had UC San Diego and Lewis tied for number 13. It's the first time I think we've seen 2 ties for 1 spot. Then we also had McKendree only moving up 1 spot. This was surprising. It's like, where's the justification for McKendree? I get it. They did lose the first match to Loyola Chicago in straight sets, but honestly, this was a huge win, and they only get rewarded by going up 1 spot. They should have at least gone up 2. Some are saying they should have gone up to two spots. Like, it's a little baffling if you ask me. And then new to the poll, after sitting out a week due to injuries and whatnot, them taking down NJIT was huge for Princeton. So a great win for Princeton this past week. But McKendree, why are we sliding McKendree? I just am a little baffled by that. But it is what it is, and I don't vote for these things. What I do vote for is the Off the Block media poll, which the Off the Block media poll was. Oh, by the way, I should mention that the most recent AVCA poll had Long Beach State garnering all 23 first-place votes, which some are actually disagreeing with that because UC Irvine actually got a first-place vote last week, and then this week, no first-place vote. All it is just Long Beach State getting all 23 first-place votes, which has some volleyball content creators seething at the phones. But there you have it right there for the ABCA Collegiate Men's Volleyball poll. Now for the the most recent off the block media poll. So Long Beach State, UC Irvine, UCLA, Hawaii, USC, Loyola Chicago, BYU, Stanford, Ball State, and Grand Canyon are your top 10. Who I voted for, I pretty much had all the same, except I voted Ball State at number 8 and then Stanford at number 9. And then who I voted for this week, I probably need to turn in my poll pretty soon. I put Long Beach State 1, UC Irvine 2, UCLA 3, Hawaii 4, USC 5, Loyola 6, BYU 7, Ball State 8, Stanford 9, and Grand Canyon 10. Now, I might want to actually switch out. This is last week's poll. So this week's poll, I have I actually have BYU and Loyola flipped. And then I have Ball State still the same as is. I have Grand Canyon for sure number 10. And then Stanford I have at number 9, just because you still have to take into consideration the wins over Ball State. You still have to take into consideration the win over Hawaii. I don't think the Masters College loss doesn't do them any justice, but I kind of have to punish Stanford a little. I mean, they did play the best NAIA men's volleyball team, but I will say at least they didn't lose to like a bottom feeder or whatnot. So that's my off the block media poll ballot for this week. From last week, like I mentioned, my poll was pretty much the same as the primary poll. I just had Ball State and Stanford flipped, which in reality, I think you can make the argument that Ball State shouldn't be ahead of Stanford, since Stanford did sweep Ball State the day after Ball State swept Stanford. But I think that it can go either way. I mean, Ball State has the quantity wins, Stanford has the quality wins. And I think we all know that quality beats quantity, but to each his own. All right, but that is that for the NCAA Men's Volleyball Week 7 recap. We're actually going to take ourselves a quick little commercial break. When we come back, I'll have the Week 8 recap for NCAA Men's Volleyball. I'll also have the LOVB Classic recap, as well as the PVF recap from its week. So keep it locked here. You're listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you with the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your 5-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Back with segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as New York State of Sports and the Neutral Zone. A lot of amazing hockey going on, especially with that Four Nations thing. But anyway, let's get back into the NCAA men's volleyball action. So got to preview Week 8, and then we will close the book on NCAA men's volleyball. So we have no matches for tonight as, well, we are basically... It's actually a holiday, so happy President's Day for those that celebrate it. But Tuesday, we don't really have too much. All we have is George Mason taking on Roberts Wiesland, as well as a few other outlier teams. So you have that right there. And then Wednesday, it gets started with some big-time matches. So Wednesday, we've got Grand Canyon at CSUN, tied for number 8 Grand Canyon taking on number 12 CSUN. Well, I want to see CSUN actually beat a top 10 team. If CSUN takes down a top 10 team, I think it's time to label CSUN as the real deal. I think Theo Edwards has an excellent team. My only problem is, can they beat a top 10 team? Obviously, they have the losses to USC and UCLA, but they can definitely make up for those by beating Grand Canyon. And I think this is definitely favorable. I would say it's kind of favorable in favor of CSUN. I mean, Grand Canyon does have to come from Phoenix all the way to California, but you never know. I think CSUN can definitely pull off a little bit of some Big West magic. And speaking of the Big West, we have the series and match of the week with number 2 UC Irvine hosting number 3 UCLA. The two teams also face each other on Friday at Pauley Pavilion, but let's see if UC Irvine can take down another top 5 team. UC Irvine is playing such a darn tough schedule. Everyone is saying, why is UC Irvine not number 1? Why are they not getting as much love as Long Beach State? Well, if UC Irvine can handle UCLA just as easily as Long Beach State did, I think UC Irvine should be in the consideration for number 1 because UC Irvine has been playing a tough schedule. Let's not like beat around the bush real quick, but let's see if UC Irvine has what it takes, and let's see if they can stay undefeated because UC Irvine and Long Beach State are the only 2 remaining NCAA men's volleyball Division 1-2 teams that are undefeated, or National Collegiate men's volleyball teams. With Loyola losing, they unfortunately fell out of the fray, and then USC obviously lost twice. Now, for UCLA, here's my thing. They've lost 2 straight. I only hope for their sake they can take down UC Irvine. I mean, they still should have a legit shot at winning the MPSF, but man, their confidence needs some favors in this series. I think UC Irvine is going to be one tough customer, but I think for UCLA, they know they're kind of the underdogs. Well, they're underdogs for the second straight match. I wouldn't be surprised if UC Irvine's Halir Heno and Nolan Flexen just went off for just like 20, maybe 30 more kills. I think it would be quite something. I mean, who I want to see step up for UC Irvine is Shane Aitken. Don't get me wrong, he does a fantastic job at the libero position, and he's the only libero for UC Irvine on the roster. But I will say I want to see him get some big numbers, get some big digs against Cooper Robinson. And that kind of seems to be the issue with UCLA. They've got some solid liberos, but they just don't seem to put up the big number, which I feel bad for UCLA. I mean, they can't always have the perfect libero every single year, but it is what it is, and sometimes that's just it is. It just sometimes happens. So I think UCLA, they kind of need at least one match from UC Irvine, because if they don't, then I will just say I don't know if UCLA could be, well, they'll obviously win the MPSF, but I don't know if they'll be the number 1 or number 2 seed come NCAA tournament time. I mean, it's too early to kind of see that right now, but I think their strength of schedule or their RPI might not be as great as Long Beach State's or UC Irvine's. At least not for UC Irvine's. Like Long Beach State's RPI and strength of schedule, nah, but it is what it is. I think for UCLA, this is an important series for them because eventually MPSF play is going to be taking center stage for them, and everyone's going to be coming for the crown against UCLA. Yes, I think UCLA can still win the MPSF, but USC is not too far off from them. BYU, I still think, has a great shot. Stanford, we can't sleep on. And Grand Canyon, you just never know. So that's that for Wednesday's matches. Jumping over, also on Wednesday we have, Thursday we have Hawaii taking on Belmont Abbey. So Hawaii is going to be in North Carolina. I will say they should be able to take down their opponents. They should be able to take down Belmont Abbey. They've also got Queens on Friday and on Saturday. And then also, but more on that later. I mean, Hawaii is playing 2 matches in one day, which I think is wild if you ask me, but it is what it is. So, but we'll talk a little bit about Hawaii a little bit later. But for right now, Thursday. So Thursday we have Ohio State versus McKendree. Number 15, Ohio State taking on number 17, McKendree. All right, if McKendree goes perfect this week and they don't get pushed any higher than 1 spot, we're going to have problems. This is McKendree's true chance to really prove themselves. I really want to see McKendree continue to build off that win over Loyola Chicago. I think this win over Loyola Chicago is going to benefit them. And McKendree has some stud players. I don't think McKendree is a bad team at all. And that win over Loyola Chicago proves that the league, the MIVA is so wide open. It's so wide open, it's not even funny. And speaking of the MIVA, we have Purdue Fort Wayne at Loyola Chicago, number 7 Loyola Chicago. Well, if I'm Loyola Chicago, I'm flushing that loss down the toilet. I think Loyola Chicago definitely does have a good team. It's just that they kind of got out-scrapped by a scrappy McKendree team. And sometimes that just happens. But it's better they get the loss out of the way now than in the MIVA tournament or in the NC National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament, just because the at-larges are going to be so crammed. I mean, I said this on Friday. There's not enough at-larges for 3 to 4 good teams that don't win their conference. So if I had to project, I'd say Long Beach State wins the Big West, UCLA wins the MPSF. That means USC, Hawaii, and UC Irvine have to vie for at-larges. And then let's say Ball State wins the MIVA. Loyola Chicago is now in that category of, are they going to get an at-large for the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Tournament? And some are saying they'd much rather see the 6th best team in the Big West instead of like teams from like the EIVA or teams from the SIAC or the Conference of Carolinas. Well, keep the automatic qualifiers. Just give us more, expand the tournament. And I don't want to make this too much of a political thing right here, but I just think that the NCAA isn't doing NCAA men's volleyball justice, which really sucks, but it is what it is. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's pretty much that for Thursday's notable matchups. And then we jump to Friday. We have Penn State at NJIT, where the 2 teams also face each other on Saturday. All right. Well, Penn State, even though they're 3-7 and some are griping about why they're still ranked, this is their chance to prove that they still deserve to be ranked and that they're still the class of the EIVA. And then Princeton-Charleston, that's kind of a sneaky good matchup. I just think Princeton's got their swagger back. I think Princeton should be fine in this matchup against Charleston, but don't sleep on the Eagles. I think the Tigers, with Naihiro Omene, they should be able to, and most of their team at full strength, if not all their team at full strength, I think Princeton should be fine, but we shall see. Then we have Stanford at Vanguard. Oh boy. That's actually an MPSF match. I got to remember. Vanguard's part of the MPSF, but oh man, if Stanford finds a way to botch this one at Vanguard, then I don't think there's I don't think Stanford's going to be forgiven for that. We can forgive them for the loss against Masters, but I don't know if we can forgive them against Vanguard, because remember, this is a Vanguard team that lost Will Anderson and Ryan Smith to graduation. they're still trying to fill things out in NCAA Division 1-2 as opposed to being in the NAIA. So there you go. And then we have the match of the day on Friday. We have Grand Canyon, number 8 Grand Canyon, heading down to Long Beach to take on Long Beach State. Another rematch of the National Collegiate Men's Volleyball Semifinals, as well as UCLA and UC Irvine. But I want to see Grand Canyon play with a lot of fire and intensity. Yes, they don't have the same team like they did last year with Camden Gianni or Rico Wardlow or Cam Thorne or any of those other guys. But I think Grand Canyon still has some chops to them. My big question is, can they make it competitive against Long Beach State? Long Beach State, as we all know, they're pretty much the class of NCAA men's volleyball. They and UC Irvine. One is 1A, one is 1B. Everyone else is still scrapping to try to get close to them. But for Grand Canyon, I want to see them actually do really well in this matchup. I don't know if they'll win. I mean, you never know with Grand Canyon, but we never really get to see Long Beach State and Grand Canyon face off against one another in the regular season. Now we get to see that at first hand. And I know Grand Canyon is going to come in with a lot of fire, so it's going to be fun times. And then we jump to Saturday. We have Ohio State at Lindenwood. Solid matchup right there. Belmont Abbey, North Greenville. Conference of Carolinas matchup right there. I think that could be a little fun. We have Ball State McKendree. Another big test for McKendree. I want to see Ball State bounce back after their tough loss to Lewis. And I want to see McKendree build off of that win. Stanford Vanguard. I already gave my 2 cents on that. Purdue Fort Wayne versus Lewis. And I guess is UCLA, I guess UCLA, UC Irvine will be played on Saturday and not Friday, which that's kind of weird if you ask me. But it is what it is. And yeah, I guess UC Irvine and UCLA will be facing each other on Saturday and not on Friday, but I digress. Anyway, but that's kind of the notable matchups for Saturday. I kind of want to get through this for the most part just because I kind of feel I'm rambling on. We're almost at 45 minutes. Also, Long Beach State plays Barton on Saturday and Sunday, for those that are wondering. So Long Beach State is also playing 3 matches in 3 nights. And then UC San Diego also plays Concordia Irvine Saturday, as well as UC Santa Barbara taking on Concordia Irvine. So you have that right there. And then looking at Sunday, there's Sacred Heart Harvard. Hopefully Harvard will be able to not postpone their matches. No offense to them, but honestly, I think it would be great to see the weather not play a factor in Harvard's travel, but I digress. And we also have Benedict Fort Valley State on Sunday, but that's pretty much that for the notable matches on Friday and the Week 8 preview. I'm excited for this match, for a lot of these matches. I think this is going to be a very fun week. It's going to be another fun week, and I hope we get to see a lot of matches that don't get decided in 3 sets. I want to see some matches go 4 or 5. I think everyone would love that. And yeah, I guess UCLA, UC Irvine will be playing on Saturday instead of Friday. Thank goodness I was able to double check that before I did my matches to watch for preview video. I guess I should also make note that after UC Irvine plays UCLA, they got another barn burner matchup because they start Big West play against Hawaii next week. So, God, out of the frying pan with one tough team and into the frying pan with the other. It's going to be fun, and I can't wait to see what UCI has in store. But we're actually going to take ourselves one more quick commercial break. When we come back, we will for sure be talking LOVB. It's just going to be a quick TV timeout. So when we come back, I will be discussing some LOVB, some PVF, and much more. Keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, sports fans. Are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For a down south education on Florida sports and athletics, it's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Told you I'd be quick with that commercial break. Welcome back to Set Point. Just had to plug in my phone real quick because it is dying, and it's kind of the only thing that is making me go live at the moment, but I digress. So let's continue on with some LOVB. So LOVB action. So last week we had the LOVB Classic, which was taking place at Kansas City, and it did not disappoint. I thought this was a very fun event. And before we continue, I actually need to have some breaking news. So last Monday, if not Tuesday, it was last Monday, I actually got the news that Penn State women's volleyball coach Katie Schumacher-Cauley is breast cancer free, which I thought was absolutely amazing. It was the best news I could receive from last Monday, and I wish I could have included it on last week's show, but better late than never, I guess. So congratulations to Katie Schumacher-Cauley. After all the radiation and all the prayers that we all gave her, it all paid off, and she is on the road, and she got to ring that bell, which somebody was chopping onions early on. So excuse me for one quick second. Sorry, losing my voice a little bit, but that's going to do it for that little bit of news. Just want to give a huge shout out to Katie Schumacher-Cauley for crushing cancer, and we are all so proud of you. All right, LOVB Classic. So LOVB Classic, it was also week 6 of the LOVB. Sorry about that. Just a little bit of a glitch in my phone, but yeah, the LOVB Classic did not disappoint, and I will be honest, it was fun. I try to see this as much as I can with all the NCAA men's volleyball happening, but I thought it was absolutely amazing. So the first match, it was the number 3 team from the LOVB standings taking on the number 6 team in the LOVB standings. And then the number 4 team in the LOVB standings taking on the number 5 team in the LOVB standings. So none of these matches count. It's kind of like the in-season tournament for the NBA, as well as the CONCACAF for the MLS and whatnot. So in the first match in the first quarterfinal, we had LOVB Houston sweeping LOVB Madison by the set scores on screen. Jordan Thompson led the way with 18 kills. And then you also had Anna Pogany adding 15 digs. Then you also had, I'm trying to pronounce this correctly, Kaina Alcano with 28 assists and 4 digs. So it was a nice win for Houston. I kind of expected this. I mean, the second set could have gone either way, but honestly, Houston has no problems. And you're about to see why. I thought Houston just continued to play great volleyball. For Madison, I don't know why they're struggling. They have so much talent on that team, but they just seem to struggle and find ways to, unfortunately, not pull out the win. But it is what it is, and that's just the way the ball bounces. Then we had in the other quarterfinal, we had LOVB Austin taking down LOVB Salt Lake in 4 sets. Logan Eggleston led the way with 18 kills with 6 digs. Zoe Jarvis, or Zoe Fleck, as she was previously called, she had 14 digs. Sage Ka'aina Torres had 37 assists along with 8 digs. Now, this one I thought was going to be a little bit more exciting. I thought Salt Lake was going to come with a little bit more firepower, but unfortunately, it was just not meant to be. And Salt Lake wasn't terrible, but I just thought they just kind of lacked in those first 2 sets. I thought, especially that second set. Ugh. So the semifinals consisted of LOVB Houston taking on LOVB Omaha, and then we had LOVB Austin taking on LOVB Atlanta. So the first semifinal was Houston versus Omaha, where Houston stunned pretty much most of the world by taking down Omaha in 4 sets. Jordan Thompson, 25 kills. That's phenomenal right there. Pogany had 13 digs. You also had, and then something to note is that Houston ran a 6-2, which I thought was pretty darn awesome, if you ask me. So good job to Houston for running a 6-2. And Micah Hancock did actually miss a few matches, but then she was back, and I'm glad she got to have the quarterfinals off. So big ups to Micah Hancock, and her service still as wicked as always, which you're about to see a little later on. And then the other matchup we had LOVB Atlanta continuing their hot start or their hot streak as they took down LOVB Austin in 4 sets. Daniel Coutinho had 17 kills and 11 digs, even though she wasn't named player of the match. Rachel Fairbanks had herself a solid game with 39 assists and 8 digs. And we had McKenna Adams with 9 kills and 13 digs as well. So all in all, I kind of expected Atlanta to take down Austin. Remember, Atlanta was red hot. So you had that right there to conclude the Saturday. Then we jumped to Sunday. I'm just going to skim through the 5th and 3rd place matches. So LOVB Salt Lake took down LOVB Madison. Got to a slow start in the first set, but then rebounded nicely in the second set and beyond. Again, this has just been one tough year for LOVB Madison. I feel bad for Matt Furbringer. I really like him. He's a really great coach. I just think that's just one of those years where nothing's going your way. But maybe there's still time for them to turn it around. Maybe. We'll see. I think every team still goes to the playoffs regardless. So we'll see. Then the 3rd place match, we had LOVB Austin taking down LOVB Omaha in 4 sets. Now, I was a little surprised that Omaha went 0-2 this past week. But thankfully, these matches don't count toward the record. And thankfully for them, they have the rest of their season to look forward to. Finishing 4th isn't ideal, but I don't think it's anything too bad. At least they're getting the bad losses out of the way. And now for the championship match. The championship match was between LOVB Atlanta taking on LOVB Houston, and it was a fun match as eventually we got to see eventually we got to see the championship match between those two teams. First set, although I didn't make the banner, the first set was won by LOVB Houston. They kind of had to make a little bit of a comeback to take that first set. They won 25-23, and then the second set, Atlanta wound up winning it 27-25. Then Houston wound up winning set 3, 25-20. Then the 4th set was just wild. Houston led 24-20, or actually Atlanta led 24-22. Houston rounded off 2 straight points, and so on and so forth. Houston had match point, and when Micah Hancock was up to serve, she delivered. She had pretty much the game-clinching service ace, and eventually it led to an overpass kill from Houston, and eventually that was the match, and it was a fantastic win for LOVB Houston. Houston was led by Jordan Thompson, who had 16 kills. I think she was named the most outstanding player of the tournament, which I thought was pretty nice and deserving. Amber Ajiti had 13 kills. Shout out to the former Hawaii star. Houston had 5 different players with 10-plus kills. That's incredible, if you ask me. Thompson had 13 digs. Merzick had 17 digs. Maddie Rochelle also added 12 digs. Micah Hancock had 13 digs to go along with 37 assists. I think it's actually Kalissa. So Kalsa Alcano. Kalsa Alcano, not Kaja or Kaiza. Kalsa Alcano had 17 assists to go along with 6 digs. So 2 also lead LOVB's front as well. So great. And Pogany had 9 digs to go along with 4 assists. So great work to LOVB Houston. Now, LOVB Atlanta was led by Daniel Coutinho, who had 19 kills. Tia Jimerson, 12 kills. Mackenzie Adams and Kelsey Cook both had 9 kills. Coutinho had 13 digs. Cook had 19 digs, which actually led that department. So all in all for Atlanta, the good thing is that their win streak doesn't get snapped, but I kind of felt that they could have won this, but unfortunately didn't. But Houston is stacked. They've got a lot of good players, some from the national team and just some that are just pretty darn good. So there you have it right there. It didn't disappoint as LOVB Houston wins the first ever LOVB Classic. And then we have the Week 7 preview. So Week 7 will take us to Austin, where Austin will be hosting the Weekend with Love or Weekend with LOVB. So they actually will be playing LOVB Houston at the HEB Center at Cedar Park. So this is going to be a fun one. You love the rivalry match. I love the rivalry match. So I can't wait to see what Houston and Austin does. Will Austin get the better of Houston after Houston wound up winning the LOVB Classic, or will Houston continue their winning ways? And then we have LOVB Omaha taking on LOVB Houston. That first matchup is going to be on Wednesday. So on Friday or Thursday, we have LOVB Omaha taking on LOVB Houston. That's going to be a good matchup. I think that's going to be a fun matchup. I hope for Omaha's sake they come with a little bit more firepower, but Houston's been playing great as of late, so we'll have to wait and see. Also on Thursday, we have LOVB Houston taking on LOVB Salt Lake taking on LOVB Austin. When are people going to learn that these back-to-backs are really going to be killer for players? So I hope for Austin's sake they still have some firepower in the trunk, but because Salt Lake is going to come for a little bit of revenge after losing to them in the LOVB Classic. Then we jump to Friday. We have just one match, and that's the last match of this week. LOVB Madison taking on LOVB Atlanta. Well, if Atlanta needs some sort of bounce-back match, this is kind of the bounce-back match. This is kind of as good of a bounce-back match as they'll get. I think they could pretty much bounce back from this loss, but we'll see. And that pretty much does it for week number 7. Remember, there's not too many matches when it comes to these weeks. It's not like the PVF, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But yeah, LOVB week 7, it didn't disappoint. LOVB week 6 didn't disappoint the LOVB Classic. I like how the LOVB had the LOVB Classic in Kansas City because A, that's the host of this upcoming year's NCAA Women's Volleyball National Championship and semifinals, and B, there was a club volleyball tournament happening right across the street. So LOVB is kind of thinking outside the box here. So good on LOVB for marketing and having their tournament, or their little mini tournament for the new generation or next generation to come to watch. So LOVB is thinking 2 steps ahead and 2 steps ahead of the players and 10 steps ahead of the young players or the club volleyball players. But that'll do it for the LOVB portion of the show. We're going to take one last commercial break. When we come back, we've got some Pro Volleyball Federation to discuss, a little NCAA women's or NCAA beach volleyball to discuss, and then if we have time, we'll talk some 3C2A and high school volleyball. So keep it locked here. You're listening to Set Point here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Davidson.
It's your boy, Dentarius Lava.
And we're the hosts of Fast Break here on IE Sports Radio, where we discuss everything in the world of basketball from prep to the pros.
You guys should definitely check us out, man. Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We got all the basketball information you guys need, so we look forward to you guys listening in.
And please do, because we are the best basketball show on this side of the Mississippi. And please do check us out on Twitter at FastBreakISR. D-Lock, where's our time again?
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That gives you guys spending time on a Sunday.
Tune in.
Hello, IE Sports Radio family and other sports families. My name is Alden K, and I want to welcome you to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you're a fan of the Valley and the Grand Canyon State like me, then I've got the show for you. Tune in every week, where I will update you and give you the latest news for the Arizona Cardinals, Phoenix Suns, Arizona Diamondbacks, ASU Sun Devils, U of A Wildcats, GCU Antelope, and of course, the NAU Lumberjacks. Again, if you're a Valley sports fan and like all that is desert sports like me, tune in every week here on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll see you then.
And we are back with the final portion of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as AZ Sports Zone with Alden Kay, as well as Fast Break with Davidson Crooks and Antarius Locke. They talked a lot about the NBA All-Star break. So good for them, and definitely check out all of our amazing shows. We have all shows ranging from the East Coast to the West Coast to hockey to football, even to volleyball, and so much more. So without any further delay, let us close out the show with a bang and not a whimper. So let's talk a little PVF. So PVF, even though there was the LOVB Classic, there still was some Pro Volleyball Federation, which I thought was pretty darn cool. And the week is actually not done, as we have the Vegas Thrill taking on the Columbus Fury at 6 p.m. Eastern, so it's not quite done yet. So I think it is going on right away. 6 p.m. Eastern would be 3 p.m. Pacific time, so it is going on right now. So we shall see how Columbus does with Vegas. I imagine the Thrill will win. The only thing I fear for the Thrill is them having a little bit of some rust. So the week actually got started on Wednesday when we had the Orlando Valkyries taking down the Columbus Fury in 4 sets in Columbus. So don't look now, but the Valkyries are on a little bit of a win streak, which I think is pretty darn good if you ask me, as Orlando was led by, you guessed it, Brittany Abercrombie, who had 15 kills. They also got 11 kills from Natalie Foster. They got 10 kills from Courtney Schwann and Kaz Brown. They almost got 10 kills from Adora Ane, but she had 9 kills, and she also had 10 digs. Schwann had 15 digs. Abercrombie had 10 digs. Orlando as a team, they had 5 different players with 10-plus digs, which I think is pretty darn good. Meanwhile, for the Fury, they were led by Isabella Pax, who had 16 kills. Raina Terry added 10 kills to go along with 8 digs, and she's still having a great season. Mary Kate Georgiadis, I thought she was just known as Kate Georgiadis. Kate Georgiadis had 21 digs. Wilma Rivera added 34 assists to go along with 13 digs. Well, this was a little bit of improvement for Columbus, but it was still business as usual for the Valkyries. So also want to give a shout out to NXTL68. I appreciate you for popping into the chat room. He says, "What's up?" Thank you for popping in. And then Ralph Khalees says, "Teran, what up? So glad I am able to catch the end. Man, your support to me has been great. I have to return the favor to you. Finish strong, my man." Well, thank you, Ralph. And your support does not go unnoticed, Ralph. I really do appreciate you for popping in. Anyway, so Pro Volleyball Federation Week 6 recap continues. So that was Wednesday's matchup. So Thursday we had the San Diego Mojo at the Indy Ignite, where the Ignite were able to bounce back from their tough loss previously, and they were able to take down the Mojo in 4 sets. So I'll get into my thoughts about this a little bit later, but Indy was led by Azani Teeler, who had 16 kills. Nina Kahik also had 16 kills as well. Blake Moeller also had 11 kills to lead Indy's offense. Sydney Hilly had 20 digs and 47 assists, which I thought was pretty good. Kylie Murr had 18 digs. For San Diego, they were led by Kendra Dalkey, who had 22 kills, which she was actually the only player in double digits in terms of kills, which is unfortunate for San Diego, as their next kill leader was Veronica Stone, who had 8 kills. And then the dig leader for San Diego was Dalkey, who had 11 digs. So My takeaway for Indy is this: it's great to see them to see them bouncing back. I really think that they needed this win more than ever, because if they lost on their home floor, that wouldn't have been a good taste in their mouth. Now, San Diego is going the wrong direction. This is this is kind of the San Diego team I imagined, but it was also, I did not expect them to be on a downward spiral. This is not good for them in more ways than one. And long story short, they really need to get their season together ASAP, because if they don't, then this win streak or this losing streak is going to grow longer and longer, and eventually it's going to be to the point where they can't come back from it. And last year they kind of got lucky because they got to such a slow start, but then they were able to get hot at the right time, and they were able to finish third in the regular season standings. Now they don't really have that luxury, because now everyone is going to say we can't underestimate the mojo. So, yeah. Also on Thursday, we had the Atlanta Vibe taking down the Grand Rapids Rise in 4 sets. Now, I expected Grand Rapids to unfortunately not win this one. I knew Atlanta was going to be the one to take the win. I will give Grand Rapids this. I knew they would at least battle, but I just think that Atlanta needed to get their lick back against them, as Leah Edmond led the way for Atlanta with 17 kills. Taya Beller added 10 kills. Pia Timmer also had 9 kills. But I'm bearing the lead here, as Anna Dixon had 14 kills. Corey Lewis had 12 kills. Again, another scenario where there was almost 5 different players with 10-plus kills, which I think is pretty incredible. Morgan Hentz almost had a double-double of her own. She had 21 digs and 8 assists. And then in terms of assists, Marlene Monserrat had 52 assists to go along with 20 digs. And then for Grand Rapids, they were led by Erica Pritchard, who had 15 kills. But that was kind of the only offense that they had, as Raven Colvin, or actually, no, not Raven Colvin, Kaylee Nelson had 9 kills to follow up. So, again, this was kind of expected for Grand Rapids. I expected them to not really win this one, even though they were the home team. I just thought Atlanta needed to continue to string together more victories, because they know that they can't afford too many losses here and there, because they weren't playing the best volleyball last week or previously when they were on that losing streak. And then jumping over to Saturday, we had the Orlando Valkyries protecting home court, taking down the Grand Rapids Rise in 4. So again, at least some progress for the Rise. Or actually, no, it wasn't in 4. It was 3. Hint, hint, freaking PDF website saying Orlando 3-1. So that's my fault. I shouldn't have gone off that. But Orlando did take down the Rise in 3 sets. Sets 3 and 2 were close, decided by 2 points, but the Valkyries found a way to get it done, and that's all that you really need to do. Just score more points than the other team and just out-scrap them in every way possible. Every and any way possible. Anyway, Brittany Abercrombie led the way for Orlando with 13 kills. She also had 8 digs. Courtney Schwann had 12 digs to go along with 8 kills. Gudapard, who I'm not even going to try to pronounce her first name, Pornpun Gudapard, she had 33 assists to go along with 5 digs. And then for the Rise, they were led by Erica Pritchard, who had 11 kills. Then don't look now, but Orlando has won 5 straight matches. 5 straight matches, which I think is pretty darn good, if you ask me. So if I'm an opposing team, I just think that you gotta get it out of the way of Orlando. Man, why am I like blanking on Orlando's name? So yeah, this is starting to become really fast. Orlando's starting to become the team that I thought that they would be. I'm sorry if I'm blanking here real quick. I just had something pop up, but yeah, Gudapard is definitely one of the reasons why. And apparently she goes by some other name, but according to from what I'm seeing in an article, her name is officially Pornpun Gudapard. Anyway, just want to get that out of the way. So jumping to Sunday, we had the Omaha Supernovas taking down the San Diego Mojo in straight sets. Okay, long story short, I didn't expect anything less. With how San Diego is playing, Omaha needed to get their lick back. And there was over 12,000 in support for Omaha. So anything short of a win for Omaha should have them relegated. I'm just kidding. We're not going that far. Anyway, so Reagan Cooper led the way for Omaha with 10 kills. Brooke Nunaviller had 9 kills, but she had 11 digs. Natalia Valentine Anderson had 10 digs to go along with 34 assists. I think that she's been one of the better things for Omaha, in my opinion. After losing Sydney Healy to the Indy Ignite, I think Natalia Valentina Anderson has been the best thing for this team, and the offense starts with a great setter. Now, San Diego did not have – well, they had one player with double-digit kills, and that was Kayla Lund, who had 10 kills. She also had 9 digs, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. Marie Chara Venegas had 14 digs, and we also got to see Sarah Sponsel starting at setter, as she had 20 assists along with 4 digs. So, unfortunately for San Diego, again, this is kind of the case of they're going the wrong way, and that is no bueno if you ask me. And then the last match of the week was the Atlanta Vibe taking on the Indy Ignite, where the Vibe outlasted the Ignite in 5 on the road. So actually, no, it was at home. Yeah, it was at home. So Atlanta wound up winning in 5. So another big win for the Vibe, as they were led by Leah Edmond, who had 26 kills. Pia Timmer had 16 kills, and Merritt Beeson had 13 kills. Beeson and Timmer had 10 digs apiece. Edmond had 14 digs. Morgan Hens had 22 digs. And then we had 60 assists from Marley Monstray to go along with 13 digs. And then for the Ignite, they were led by Azani Taylor and Isabel Martin, both having 15 kills. But the real kill leader was Nina Kahik, who had 18 kills. And then Kylie Murr had 19 digs, and Sydney Hilly had 52 assists along with 13 digs. And then Martin had 12 digs. So it was an amazing match between both teams, and I'm glad this was the matchup to close off the weekend. I know we still have one more match, but let's be honest. Vegas is probably going to win I'm pretty sure Vegas is going to win. The only way I don't see Vegas winning is if they're super rusty. Well, let's move on to the PVF Week 7 preview. So the Week 7 kicks off with the Vegas Build traveling to Orlando to take on the Orlando Valkyries. Okay, this one's kind of straightforward. The Thrill are hot, but so are the Valkyries. Something's got to get put out. So if I'm the Valkyries, I play with no fear and make sure the match does not go 5. If that match goes 5, we already know Vegas Thrill is going to be sniffing blood in the water. So I think we're in for a barn burner on Thursday between the Valkyries and the Thrill. Also on Thursday, we have the Atlanta Vibe at the Indy Ignite. So this time, Indy will be home against Atlanta. I want to see Atlanta continue their winning ways, but I also want to see Indy get up off the mat, and I want to see them actually show Atlanta that they can still contend for a playoff spot. And then also Thursday, we get a full slate Thursday. We have the Columbus Fury at the Grand Rapids Rise. It's kind of the battle of the teams that are rebuilding. So I don't want to say that negatively, but I mean, one team has to win. I'm sure it'll probably be the Rise. They kind of want to get their lick back against the Fury, but don't count out the Fury. The Fury beat the Rise once. They could probably do it again. And then San Diego will be hosting Omaha. Now, I want to see San Diego somehow snap this losing streak. I really want to see them get up off the mat, but with how Omaha is playing as of late, I don't think they're going to want to slow down for any or everybody. So I think for Omaha, this is becoming – I think this one could be a little bit of a one-sided affair, but I also want to see San Diego somehow snap the streak. I want to see them break through. But this Saturday is also the All-Star match, the first ever PVF All-Star match. So it's going to be Team Michelle Collier taking on Team Dave Shondell at the Fishers Event Center, which is in Indiana. So again, it'll be hosted by Jalen Rose and Sean Johnson East. So nothing to really ultimately preview about. It's just a fun matchup. And hopefully this All-Star game will be more fun than the Pro Bowl and the NBA All-Star game. I mean, the dunk contest was good for the NBA, but I digress. And then Sunday, which I think is not doing the All-Star break justice, Atlanta takes on Columbus. Yeah, I hate to say this for Columbus. I think Atlanta's going to win this one. I don't want to say that in a negative way, but I just think that Atlanta is probably going to win this one fairly easily, unless Columbus manages to have some Fury magic, but we shall see. All right, but that's that for the PVF Week 7 preview. So here was actually the result for those that were wondering. Here's the result of the LOVB championship match. All right, so beach volleyball actually starts in one more week. So the AVCA Collegiate preseason poll was released last Thursday. And as we all know, USC is going to be topping the list because they're the reigning champions. But TCU is not too far behind. They're actually number 2 in the poll. And they're I think they were 3 points behind USC. Because remember, USC got hit hard in terms of graduation. They got hit hard in terms of losing Megan Kraft, Delaney Maple, the Norse twins, a bunch of other players as well. So I think for USC, it might be a little bit weird seeing them without the Norse twins as well as the 2 former Torrey Pine standouts. But I think for USC, they're still going to be contending for the championship. I don't see any way, shape, or form that USC does not contend for a championship. But that's going to be the big storyline right there. Can USC make it a 5-peat? Can TCU finally break through? Will UCLA get back on top? Will Cal Poly be able to stun the world like they did last year? Because they're building themselves quite the young roster. Will Stanford be able to rebound after, how do I say this, having a big fat oof in the tournament last year? Excuse me for one quick second. Losing my voice here, which is not good. But yeah, you also have Florida State that's up there in talent, LMU, LSU. Texas is in the top 20. Keep in mind, this is only their 3rd year as a collegiate program. I mean, the first year was basically just them kind of getting their feet wet. Last year, it was just them starting to get a good feel from it. But Steinmetzger, you got to remember, Steinmetzger came from UCLA, turned that team into a perennial powerhouse, and eventually wound up winning national championships. And now has Texas veered in the right direction. So good on Steinmetzger and Texas. So there you have it right there. You can see the rest of the top 20, which will be released every Tuesday, which really sucks because that doesn't do this show any justice. Maybe I can cut a deal with the AVCA to release it personally to me, but I digress. All right, but that is that for the AVCA Collegiate Beach Volleyball poll, and I really want to see if USC can really make it a 5-peat. It certainly won't be easy because they won't have Delaney Maypole and Megan Kraft and the Norse twins, but they've got some other really talented players, and they'll also get a future player. They also got a future player as Sarah Wood, who hasn't even graduated high school and has been playing in AVP tournaments ever since she was 16. She just committed to SC. So that's pretty awesome right there for USC. The rich get richer, in my opinion. And then USC currently this year, they've got Ashley Pater that returns. They have Maddie White. They have Ella Larkin, who transferred from LSU, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. So I think for USC, they're not going anywhere in terms of contending. They're going to always be in the contention. What I will say is I think this might be the toughest year for them to repeat as champions. I mean, yes, we had 2 seasons ago where they were a little bit on the rebuild side, and I thought UCLA was going to win it all. I'm sorry, Dane Blanton. But I think for SC, their work's going to be cut out for them quite a bit, but we shall see. All right, but that is that for some NCAA beach volleyball. We'll talk a little bit of some 3C2A men's volleyball. There weren't too many upsets from last week. We did have OCC taking down Long Beach City in straight sets. So the Pirates have now won 30 straight matches, which I think is pretty darn incredible if you ask me. The Pirates are just straight up special. And Travis Turner, former set point guest, he still has them leading them in the right direction. So you had that matchup right there. Normally those matches are a little bit lengthy and a little bit more intense, but I thought OCC, okay, this was still intense. I just thought that it was a little bit shorter than expected. I mean, if anything, Long Beach had their chances in set number 2, but OCC was able to take the rest. They ended the set off on a 4-0 run, and I don't think they just looked. They didn't look anywhere back. And then on Wednesday, we had Golden West sweeping El Camino, Santa Monica sweeping Santiago Canyon, and Irvine Valley surprisingly sweeping Fullerton. I expected a little bit better from the Hornets just because they played OCC tough. But unfortunately, IVC is still a team. They're still a thing, and I don't think IVC is going to be slowing down for anybody. I mean, they're not as, talented as they were last year and the previous year. but I will say IVC is still legit. Thursday, we had Long Beach City sweeping Santiago Canyon. Then Friday, we had San Diego Mesa taking down Moore Park in 4 sets in the quad matchup being hosted by San Diego Mesa. We had Santa Barbara taking down San Diego Miramar in 4 sets. We also had Moore Park taking down San Diego Miramar in 3 sets. And then we also had San Diego Mesa outlasting Santa Barbara in 5 sets. So the Olympians remain undefeated. You also had Golden West sweeping Fullerton. You had Orange Coast sweeping Santa Monica. Got to see that matchup right there. And then we have some other matchups. We had Palomar taking down Antelope Valley in 4. We had Pierce taking down Grossmont in 5. Grossmont taking down Antelope Valley in 4. Pierce taking down Palomar in 3. And Irvine Valley taking down El Camino in 3 as well. So no true upsets in my opinion, as this week starts off with Santiago Canyon playing at LA Pierce. Sooner or later, the Hawks have got to get one win. I feel bad for Tim the Bear Johnson, former Long Beach State great, but it is what it is. So Wednesday, we have San Diego Miramar at Fullerton. That can kind of be a good matchup. I mean, Fullerton, they've lost 3 straight. Let's see if they can actually bounce back and take down Miramar. But Miramar, I think, is still pretty darn good. IVC or Irvine Valley hosts Santa Monica. That one could go either way. I think Irvine Valley can win that one, but they should not sleep on Santa Monica. I mean, in my opinion, I think Irvine Valley wins this one fairly easily, but I don't think Santa Monica is going to roll over. And then also on Wednesday, we have Golden West hosting Long Beach City. I'm fairly certain Golden West should win. I think Long Beach is in a little bit of a rebuild year. They have a new first-year head coach, and then Golden West is just stacked all across the board. So we'll have to wait and see. Then we have San Diego Mesa, El Camino on Wednesday to close off the matches. So, yeah. Then Thursday, we have Antelope Valley at Santiago Canyon. Again, Santiago Canyon's got to get that first win of the season. I can't imagine when that next win's going to come. And then also on Thursday, we have Orange Coast at Moore Park. That's going to be a fun matchup right there. I think it's going to be a big test for the Pirates. I mean, they've passed most of their other tests with flying colors, but Moore Park's kind of an unknown. I think Moore Park's kind of that box of chocolates team. You just never know what you're going to get with them. And then Friday, we have Grossmont at Moore Park, and then Palomar versus Santa Barbara at Moore Park. Then Golden West plays at Santa Monica. Santa Barbara plays at Grossmont. Palomar plays at Moore Park. Fullerton plays at San Diego Mesa. IVC plays at Long Beach City. Finally, we get to see IVC and Long Beach City face one another. I mean, that's probably because the Irvine Valley and Long Beach City actually play at OCC in the OCC quad. But I guess with all the different conference realignments and whatnot, I guess they wanted to switch things up and whatnot. And then El Camino at San Diego Miramar, and then LA Pierce at Orange Coast, which we haven't seen in a hot minute. And then Saturday, to close off the week, we have OCC at Antelope Valley, which I think that's actually the first time the two teams will be facing one another. So there you go. All right, but that is that for the 3C2A men's volleyball. I know I kind of sped right through that, but there are some exciting matches here and there. Next week, in my opinion, I think that's when conference play starts. Yeah, because I'm seeing Santa Monica. Yeah, next week is where it gets really good. And the match that headlines that week is San Diego Mesa at Orange Coast, which is a rematch of last year's state final, which did take place at OCC. And this year's state championship will take place at OCC as well. So there's that for 3C2A men's volleyball. So high school boys volleyball, last week in California, that pretty much started the entire season. We had Edison, former set point guest Matt Marujo and Servite taking down Edison in 4 sets. I mean, it's kind of the tip of the iceberg match. You still have other matches. Some notable matches this week that I can name off the top of my head: Huntington Beach at St. Clemente, Corona del Mar at Miracosta. There was some breaking news regarding the high school boys volleyball scene as Andrew Mabry, the head coach of Newport Harbor, he actually stepped down from his position as the head boys and girls volleyball coach at Newport Harbor, and he'll be taking an assistant coaching job at Kansas State for their women's volleyball team. So that's big news right there. So their interim coach is former OCC men's volleyball standout Matthew Johnson. So that was some shocking news right there. I got that news late, and I can't believe I didn't report on it earlier. So there you have it right there. So I can't wait to see what Newport Harbor is going to look like this year. I mean, they should still be up there. I think they're top 3 in Orange County, and I think they can contend. I think for the CIF Southern section, I think you got Loyola up there. Huntington Beach, I think, is going to be really good this year. They returned all but 3 players last year. Miracosta, I think, will still be up there in terms of talent. You have Newport Harbor, I still think can contend. I think returning Wyatt Nichols is big, and Henry Clemo. And I still think there's a few other teams with some question marks, like Corona Del Mar. They're always good, but I don't know what to expect this year, especially since this will be the first year that they won't have Sterling Foley, who is crushing it at USC. But I think we're going to see a lot more questions being answered this week because I think there's two big tournaments in California. There's the Tesoro tournament hosted by Tesoro High School, and then there's the Redondo preseason tournament hosted by Redondo Union High School, which I think can also contend as well because they returned most of their starters and most of their team from last year when they made it all the way to the Division II final. So we'll have to wait and see. But that's going to do it for that little bit of just of some high school boys volleyball news. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode. I really do appreciate it. And Ralph also says thank you as well. Well, he's saying thank you to me, but I digress. But for everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy the volleyball action, whether it's PVF, LOVB, NCAA men's volleyball, NCAA beach volleyball, high school volleyball, 3C2A men's volleyball, you name it. And I will see you Friday for the SoCal Spring Sports Show. Have a great week, everybody. Peace. Be on the lookout for a Set Point Extra Points episode, which you're about to see. That's going to be super big time.